What if the reason you aren't being heard, respected, or taken seriously isn't because of what you lack, but because of what you're giving away? Every single day, you are bleeding authority. You give it away in your excessive explanations, your knee-jerk reactions, and your desperate need for external approval. You think that by being louder, more available, and more reactive, you are making yourself more valuable. The reality, you are making yourself common. The ancient Stoics understood a hidden mechanism of human behavior. People do not respect what is always available, and they do not value what is easily understood. There is a singular, invisible rule, a shift in your internal posture that changes exactly how people perceive you the moment you implement it. It is not about changing your appearance, your job, or your status. It is about a fundamental shift in your sovereign state of mind. If you are tired of feeling like a background character in your own life, if you are exhausted by the lack of boundaries others place on you, and if you are ready to command respect without ever raising your voice, this is for you. Today, we are breaking down the Stoic code that separates the reactive masses from the masters of their own destiny. If you are ready to stop begging for respect and start commanding it, drop "I am sovereign" in the comments right now. Let's begin. Most people move through the world in a state of constant social bankruptcy. They believe that by constantly providing information, justification, and reactions, they are building social capital. This is a profound misunderstanding of human nature. The hidden problem is overexposure. Think about how the market values items. When a commodity is scarce, its value skyrockets. When it is abundant, it becomes cheap. When you are constantly talking, constantly reacting, and constantly explaining your movements, you are making yourself a cheap commodity. You are telling the world, my attention is free, my validation is cheap, and my boundaries are permeable. The Stoics, particularly Zeno of Citium, understood that true authority is rooted in internal containment. When you explain yourself to someone who didn't ask, or when you defend yourself against trivial criticism, you are essentially asking for their permission to be who you are. This is the exact moment your influence dies. People subconsciously mirror the value you place on yourself. If you are desperate to be understood, you appear small. If you are comfortable in your silence, you appear expansive. The world is addicted to noise, and by refusing to participate in that noise, you become a gravitational force. People gravitate toward those who possess the one thing they cannot replicate: inner stillness. By leaking your energy through constant outward expression, you leave nothing for the internal architecture of your character to build upon. You are spending your life's battery on things that don't even matter to the people you are trying to impress. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. +5. Exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple: will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. Now that you understand the invisible leak of your energy, we must confront the mechanism that accelerates it: the fallacy of accessibility. In our hyper-connected age, we have been conditioned to believe that presence equals value. We think that if we answer every text immediately, show up to every meeting, and remain constantly on call, we are being reliable or good people. The truth is much colder. In the eyes of the world, perpetual availability is not seen as a virtue, it is seen as a lack of purpose. When you are always available, you are effectively signaling that your time, your focus, and your life's mission are subordinate to the whims of others. Think about it. Think. Do you respect the person who drops everything the moment you blink? Or do you take them for granted, subconsciously assuming that their time is of little consequence? Humans are wired to value what is guarded. When you make yourself constantly accessible, you are not being helpful. You are being common. You have inadvertently trained the people around you to treat you as a background character in their own narratives. The Stoic approach here is not to be rude or antisocial, but to be sovereign. A sovereign person has boundaries. They have a life that is so deeply oriented toward their purpose that interruptions are not just annoying, they are secondary to the primary work of their existence. When you start to reclaim your availability, people will be confused. They will push back. They will try to pull you back into the orbit of their trivial demands. This is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are breaking the contract of easy accessibility that you previously signed with them. You have been living in a state of reaction, responding to pings, calls, and requests as if they were divine commands. You must stop. To earn respect, you must cultivate the art of being busy with your own becoming. Sadi, when you are unreachable because you are doing the hard, necessary work of self-mastery, people stop seeing you as a utility and start seeing you as a person of substance. They stop asking, "Why aren't you available?" and start asking, "What is it that you are working on?" This is the shift from being a reactive participant to an intentional creator. You are not rejecting people, you are protecting the space where your character is built. Every time you delay a response to protect your focus, you are teaching others how to treat you. You are teaching them that your time has a cost. And remarkably, the moment you set a cost on your presence, others will be the ones who begin to pay it with their own respect. If you have been following along, you now understand that your constant reactivity is a leakage of personal power, and that your perceived availability is actually a devaluation of your own time. But simply stopping the leakage is not enough. You must replace that negative behavior with a powerful, active Stoic habit, the art of strategic restraint. Most people live under the illusion that communication is the ultimate social currency. We are taught from childhood that to be liked, to be successful, and to be understood, we must talk. We must explain our motivations, defend our mistakes, and broadcast our intentions. This is a trap that keeps you perpetually at the mercy of other people's opinions. The Stoics, specifically thinkers like Musonius Rufus, argued for a different approach. He taught that the power of the soul is demonstrated not by how much you can influence others, but by how much control you can exert over your own urges. Strategic restraint is the habit of withholding your reaction until you have processed it internally. It is the ability to hold a thought, a feeling, or an urge to speak and filter it through the lens of necessity. Before you say something, ask yourself, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? When you start practicing this, you will notice an immediate change in your social environment. People are so accustomed to the noise of modern life, the constant chatter, the defensive explanations, the reflexive opinions, that when they encounter someone who practices restraint, they are naturally drawn to them. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is a weight. When you withhold your words, you are not being passive, you are being heavy. You're signaling that your words have value because they are rare. Most people believe that if they don't explain their behavior, they will be misunderstood. This is a fear-based projection. The truth is that those who matter, those who actually respect your mission and your character, will respect your silence. Those who don't care will never understand you anyway, no matter how much you explain yourself. By attempting to convince everyone to understand you, you are essentially trying to control the uncontrollable, the perception of others. This is the definition of a wasted life. Instead, start to use silence as a boundary. When someone confronts you, instead of immediately justifying your position, pause. Take a breath. Look them in the eye and say nothing for 3 seconds. In that space, you are not just waiting, you are regaining your autonomy. You are shifting the power dynamic from "I must defend myself" to "I am secure enough that I don't need to." This is the core of strategic restraint. It is an internal discipline that manifests externally as gravitas. It turns you into a person who cannot be easily agitated, manipulated, or swayed. And the best part? The more you practice it, the more you realize that the world's emergencies are rarely your emergencies. You stop being a spectator of other people's chaos and start being the architect of your own peace. You are now guarding your internal kingdom, and in doing so, you become a master of your own domain. 5. Viral title options: Why You Are Being Played. The Psychology of Respect, the Stoic secret to controlling how others treat you. Stop being used, the hidden mechanism of social value, why your nice behavior is actually killing your authority, the psychological trap that destroys your social power. Thumbnail, phrase options: They don't respect you. Stop being nice. The power dynamics, the psychology of respect, why you are losing. Chapter 4, the psychology of invisible boundaries. We have identified the problem of energy leakage and the trap of availability. Now, we must dissect the psychological engine that drives these dynamics. The law of reciprocal devaluation. This is a fundamental yet overlooked principle of human social interaction. When you are the one constantly initiating contact, providing emotional labor, or over-explaining your existence, you are unintentionally triggering a subconscious bias in those around you. Because humans are naturally wired to conserve their own social capital, they subconsciously lower the value of those who offer themselves for free. In social psychology, this is related to the scarcity principle. When a person is constantly available, their presence is coded by the brain as abundant. What is abundant is treated as expendable. This is why the people you try hardest to please are often the ones who treat you with the least amount of respect. You are flooding their market with your attention, and as a result, your social currency depreciates. You think you are being generous, but they perceive you as a low-value asset because you do not seem to place a high value on your own time. The Stoics navigated this by maintaining a rigid internal hierarchy of importance. Epictetus often reminded his students that others have no power over our character unless we grant it to them. Psychologically, this means that when you stop seeking external validation, you cease to be a servant to the opinions of others. When you no longer act like a servant, you stop being treated like one. The mechanism here is simple. Respect is not something you give to others. It is a feedback loop you create through your own self-respect. When you set an invisible boundary, by staying silent, by choosing not to react, or by keeping your intentions to yourself, you are triggering a cognitive dissonance in those who are used to you being easy. They are forced to re-evaluate who you are. They can no longer categorize you as a predictable variable. You become an enigma. And humans are biologically hardwired to be attentive, curious, and respectful of things they cannot fully predict or control. By withholding your immediate reactions, you are not playing a game. You are resetting the baseline of the relationship. You are moving from a position of "how can I make them like me" to "how do I conduct myself with integrity?" This shift in your internal framework is immediately picked up by the subconscious cues of those around you. They feel the change in your posture, the weight in your silence, and the lack of desperation in your presence. When you stop chasing validation, you suddenly become the one who is being pursued. This is the psychological mastery of the Stoics. You stop trying to influence the world and start influencing the only thing that actually matters, the way you hold yourself within it. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. History often remembers the Stoics for their writings, but we rarely focus on how they survived the most volatile environments imaginable. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, living in a constant state of war, plague, and political betrayal. How did he not lose his mind? How did he maintain such composure while his empire was literally crumbling around him? He used a specific, under-practiced strategy that we can apply to our daily lives. The strategic retreat into the inner citadel. It was not a physical retreat. He didn't lock himself in a room. Instead, he practiced a psychological detachment that allowed him to exist within the chaos without being of it. When a general brought him bad news or a senator tried to goad him into an emotional outburst, Marcus would pause. In that moment of silence, he wasn't just staying quiet. He was mentally stepping into his inner citadel. This is a place of total objectivity. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Outside the walls, the world is noisy, demanding, and aggressive. But inside the walls, there is only logic, duty, and calm. When you are being pressured by a boss, ignored by a partner, or provoked by an online critic, you are currently standing outside your walls. You are fighting in the mud, exposing yourself to their emotional fire. The Stoic strategy, specifically practiced by Aurelius, was to realize that the inner citadel is always available. You can step inside it at any moment. By refusing to engage in the mudslinging of life, you effectively force others to stop fighting you. Why? Because you are no longer a participant in their game. If you refuse to be offended, the offender loses their power. If you refuse to be provoked, the provocateur loses their audience. History shows us that those who master this psychological retreat are the ones who command the most respect. Think about the most composed person you know, the one who never seems to panic. They aren't composed because their life is perfect. They are composed because they have learned to retreat to their inner citadel. They don't give the external world the satisfaction of a reaction. By doing so, they become untargetable. When you practice this, you aren't just surviving a difficult interaction, you are rising above it. You observe the conflict as if you are a neutral third party watching a play. This shift in perspective is the ultimate act of power. It tells the other person, without a single word, that they do not have the clearance to enter your private mental space. This is how the Stoics maintained their authority, their health, and their sanity, while others around them burned out from the sheer weight of their own reactivity. We have explored the psychology of boundaries, the trap of accessibility, and the historical power of the inner citadel. But theories are just shadows on the wall if they do not translate into the messy, chaotic reality of your daily life. You need a tool. You need a weapon that you can draw in the heat of a conflict to reclaim your sovereignty instantly. This is what the Stoics called the discipline of assent, but we will call it the Stoic pause. Most of our misery comes from the automatic response. Someone says something rude, and you feel the surge of anger. A notification pings, and you feel the compulsion to check. You are not choosing these responses. You are being hijacked by them. Your brain is firing a biological reaction before your conscious mind has even had a chance to evaluate the situation. You are effectively living on autopilot, and that is why you feel like you are being treated like an option rather than a priority. The Stoic pause is not about thinking harder. It is about decoupling the stimulus from the response. It is a physical and mental exercise designed to break the neural loop of reactivity. Here is the exact protocol. When you are triggered by an insult, a stressful email, or a sudden change in plans, you must physically stop. Do not speak. Do not type. Do not exhale sharply. In that moment of intense pressure, count to 3 slowly. In that short window, you are doing something revolutionary. You are inserting a gap between what happened and what you decide to do about it. In that gap, ask yourself one question. Is this under my control? If it isn't, and it usually isn't, then the only thing that is under your control is your next action. By the time you reach the count of 3, the surge of adrenaline will have crested, and your prefrontal cortex, your rational, stoic mind, will have regained control. This practice is intentionally simple because if it were complex, you wouldn't do it when you are angry or overwhelmed. It is the tactical equivalent of holding your breath before a shot. It recalibrates your internal state. You will notice that by the 3rd second, the urgency of the situation has completely evaporated. The rude comment is no longer a threat. It is just noise. The chaotic email is no longer a crisis. It is just data. When you practice this consistently, you move from being a victim of your biology to being the commander of it. You are training your nervous system to stay cool under fire. And the most interesting part, when you pause before responding, the people around you will treat you with increased gravity. They are accustomed to people who jump at their commands. They do not know how to handle someone who takes their time, breathes, and responds with deliberate, calculated calm. You will find that people start to apologize more, listen more, and respect your boundaries without you having to ask. This is not a nice habit. It is a high-level survival strategy. It transforms you from a reactive child of circumstance into a sovereign individual who dictates the tempo of every conversation. You are no longer playing by their rules, you are playing by yours. Stop rushing to appease others. Start pausing to protect your own peace. We have traveled a long path together, from the hidden leaks of your energy to the strategic discipline of the pause. You have learned that your previous life was not a series of unfortunate events, but a series of unexamined reactions. You have seen how the world treats you as an object when you offer yourself as one, and how you reclaim your status as a subject the moment you withdraw your validation-seeking behavior. But there is one final, crucial realization that anchors all of this. If you stop here, you have simply learned a set of tools. To truly finish this journey, you must undergo a transformation of identity. The ultimate goal of Stoicism is not to act calm. It is to be the kind of person who is inherently unshakable. Most people spend their lives trying to curate an image for the world. They want to be seen as successful, smart, or composed. But the true sovereign understands that their identity is not defined by external perception. Your identity is the sum of your internal standards, regardless of whether anyone ever acknowledges them. When you reach this level, the opinion of the world becomes, at best, data, and at worst, irrelevant noise. You no longer need to prove your worth because you are the final judge of your own character. This is the sovereign identity. A sovereign individual does not look at the world to see if they are doing enough. They look within to see if they are doing right. This is the ultimate freedom. When you no longer need the world's permission, you are no longer its prisoner. This final awakening is the bridge between the old you, the one who was constantly seeking, reacting, and explaining, and the new you, who simply exists with quiet authority. You will find that as you integrate these lessons, you naturally shed the need for drama. You don't get angry at the chaos because you realize the chaos is the natural state of the world, and your soul is the natural state of your peace. You become an island of stillness in a restless sea. People will notice this change. They will try to pull you back into their reactive games. They will question why you are so silent, why you no longer rush to please them, or why you don't offer them the same emotional labor as before. You do not need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain your transformation. You simply embody it. Your silence is now your boundary, and your presence is your power. You have graduated from a life of reacting to a life of creation. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but the architect of your own character. This is the true meaning of the chosen one. Not someone selected by fate, but someone who chooses themselves every single day. You are ready to walk your own path, fully awake, fully present, and fully in control. The noise of the world is still there, but it no longer has a hold on you. You are home. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today.